On behalf of our chairperson, Ms. Ritu Shah, I, Prachi Trivedi Shah, Honorary Secretary, Flow Hyderabad Chapter, would like to welcome you all to the journey of Dr. BVR Mohan Reddy, founder of CYIENT, in conversation with Mr. Srinivas Rao Mahankali, CEO of T-Hub. Could I kindly request everyone to please put your phones on silent and rise for the national anthem.
जनगणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
For a ceremonial lighting of the lamp, it is an honor to request Flow Past Chairpersons, Ms. Hina Srivastav, Ms. Manjula Reddy, and Ms. Rekha Reddy, to join our speakers and to join our Vice Chairperson, Ms. Pratibha Kunda, please. Before we commence today's session, it is an honor to share an overview of our recent landmark moments. I congratulate Tarang Vyas for securing the first position in Startup Pitch Competition during She Rise Conclave 2023-24. I am thrilled to share that Flow Hyderabad chapter has been recognized at the Startup Conclave for achieving the highest number of collaboration across all chapters pan-India. Furthermore, our Health Committee recent initiative to distribute 7,000 sanitary pads to the Bharosa team underscores Flow's commitment to women empowerment and addressing critical issues such as menstrual hygiene. I am delighted to announce the successful conclusion of our skilling initiative, Telya Rumal, which has empowered weavers of the Puttapaka village through various skill building and educational workshops, from securing a government grant of 30 lakhs to generating concrete revenue within the community. We Connect International and US Consulate organized Empowering Inclusion, Advancing Sustainable Value Chains Summit in Hyderabad. From FICCI Flow, Past chairperson Ms. Uma Chigrupati spoke on the topic of solutions for sustainability and inclusions, driving competitiveness and enhancing gender-inclusive sourcing and critical value chains in IT as well as in pharmaceuticals. Kirti Chintalapuri moderated a session on the topic strategies to achieve women economic security. This year, through the vision of Sustain Her Ability, Flow Hyderabad chapter has worked diligently to transform the power of women's voices into forward-thinking economic initiatives by changing the perception and influencing policies. Our collective goals has been to foster and encourage entrepreneurial and professional mindsets by facilitating networking, education, training sessions. Let us take a look at the months gone by and the impact that we have created together. Could I have the vision video, please? I now call upon Ms. Bhavna Chopra of the Connect team to kindly introduce our guests.
Thank you, Prachi. Dr. BVR Mohan Reddy is a visionary who firmly placed India on the global engineering, research and development services map by establishing CYIENT in 1991. CYIENT now is a global digital engineering and technology solutions company. CYIENT collaborates with customers to design digital enterprises, build intelligent products and platforms, and solve sustainability challenges. As founder of CYIENT, he went on to create the Engineered in India brand, and by October 23, led CYIENT to contribute over $7.7 billion in cumulative exports from India to several global clients, including Fortune 100 companies. In 1997, he listed CYIENT, formerly Infotech Enterprises, in NSE and BSE, and in 2023, he listed CYIENT DLM, the Electronics Manufacturing Division, in NSE and BSE. As on October 20th, 2023, the CYIENT Group is valued at around US $3 billion in public markets. Mr. Mahankali Srinivas Rao, our moderator for today, most people call him MSR, has over 36 years' experience. His professional career spans 3 journeys. As an IT professional for 12 years between 1987 to 1999, as an entrepreneur over 22 years with 2 entities, Network Solutions acquired by IBM in 2005, and then co-founder and CEO of Ojas Networks acquired by the National Stock Exchange. As an ecosystem builder since 2020, first as CEO of GAME, Global Alliance for Mass Entrepreneurship, focused on solving issues related to the MSME sector between July 2020, September 2021. Then as CEO of T-Hub, India's largest startup incubator. MSR has a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Osmania University, Hyderabad, and an MBA from IIM Bangalore. Thank you.
It is with immense pleasure that I now invite our past chairperson, Ms. Hina Srivastav, also our event's mentor, and our guests, Dr. BVR Mohan Reddy and Mr. Srinivas Rao Mahankali, on the dais for felicitation. Could I kindly invite our past chairpersons, Ms. Rekha Lohati and Ms. Manjula Reddy, to kindly come forth. For the felicitation of Mr. Srinivas Rao. I now invite our Vice Chairperson, Ms. Pratibha Gunda, to address the gathering and take the session forward.
Thank you, Prachi. Before you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself. And when you become a leader, success is all about growing others, said Jack Welch, the management guru. These words encapsulate the essence of our mission here at Flow Hyderabad. We are not merely an organization, but a community of women committed to nurturing growth, personally and professionally. With our esteemed guest, Dr. BVR Mohan Reddy Garu, founder of CYIENT, and Mr. Srinivas Rao Mahankali, CEO of T-Hub, alongside us, we are inspired to continue empowering individuals and fostering innovation. Together, let us embrace the spirit of leadership and collective success as we strive to make a meaningful difference in the lives of those we serve. Today, we celebrate the spirit of entrepreneurship and empowerment, which are the values at the core of Flow's mission. As we embark on this journey together, guided by the principles of building successful, scalable, and sustainable organizations, we are reminded of the incredible achievements within our community. I want to express my gratitude to every Flow member of Hyderabad for your unwavering dedication and passion. Together, we'll continue breaking barriers, inspiring innovation, and empowering women to achieve their fullest potential. Before we delve deeper into our discussions, I invite you to join me in welcoming our esteemed guest, Dr. BVR Mohan Reddy, whose pioneering work has paved the way for innovation and excellence in the industry. Having started with an initial investment of 20 lakhs to creating a current market valuation of $3 billion, he has forged a path where there was none before. Sir, you're a pioneer of your industry, and it's a great honor to have you here today. With this incredible opportunity that we have, we are eager to learn from your experiences, and I welcome you to enrich our dialogue today. Now let's hear from Dr. Reddy as we embark on this journey of learning, inspiration, and collaboration.
Good afternoon. This is actually a truly humbling moment. Okay, it's not very often that one gets a chance to have a fireside chat with someone whom you regard as a role model, as a mentor, and apart from everything else. I think one of the reasons I'm at T-Hub is because of BVR Garu. Right? So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Thank you. We launched his book at T-Hub. That's when I had a chance to have a real conversation of this type. So what I'm going to be doing today is I want to keep this not as just a dialogue between the two of us, but I also want to throw it open to the audience occasionally. I believe we have about 1 hour? Okay. So I've tried to cover this in 3 parts, right? First is a little bit about his personal journey, one. Second is about how do you build a business, right? It's not very often that you get to meet a person who has actually taken 2 companies public, right? And incidentally, that's something which I think got missed out. the $3 billion market cap, it's actually the largest homegrown IT company, right? And BVR Garu also wears many hats, which we'll get to uncover during the course of the conversation. And the last part, I think, is I've called it words of wisdom. Okay, so three parts: personal journey, business building, and then words of wisdom, right? So I'm going to start with a question for the audience. BVR Garu has written a book called Engineered in India. How many of you have actually read the book? No one? Okay. So I'm going to do an unabashed plug for the book. My request to all the office bearers here is, I think it's a book truly inspirational. I think all of you should go and grab hold of a copy of the book. It's called Engineered in India. It is by Penguin, right? And I think please read the book. It will be a great follow-up to the conversation we are having, because it's very hard to capture in 1 hour the entire journey and the many lessons and insights and perspectives he talks about.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just add to the introduction Pratibha Garu did first about BVR Garu. The first, so BVR Garu, and again, I'm drawing on when I read the book, came from, a fairly middle class background, not born in privilege, right? And then went to, did engineering, then went to IIT, and then, worked at Myco Bosch, and did a bunch of things. And unlike many of us who seem to think that entrepreneurship should start early, he started his entrepreneurial journey fairly at relatively late, right? Relatively late. So I'm going to start my first question, BVR Garu, is what sparked your initial entrepreneurial journey? Okay, you were doing well
Yes.
in all the the work you had done prior to becoming an entrepreneur at Myco, at OMC, and so on. So what was the trigger for you to say, listen, I want to step out on my own and build something?
Thank you, MSR, and good evening to all of you. At the outset, let me thank Hyderabad Flow for inviting me this evening. It's indeed a very rare honor for me to see more women in the crowd compared to the men. But not that I want to delight you this evening, but let me share with you what I keep saying in many instances. Unless we have equal participation of women in any institution, any family, any country, I think none of these would become successful and complete. So therefore, a round of applause for seeing so many of you are here today in the audience. I try my best to see more amount of women in our company. It is extremely challenging. I keep telling, when I used to sign the new joinees into the company, we used to say less than 30% not acceptable to us. I never used to sign off. It continues to be the same, but on the whole, today the company seems to have about 27% of women, which is fairly nice, but still, especially at the higher echelons of the leadership, you find them petering down. And that is one of the challenges that we're working on. So we have a very strong initiative led by a woman called Katie Cook, who lives, of course, in Idaho. And she runs this initiative for us in terms of trying to see how we can accelerate women involvement in the company. So I'm delighted to come and speak with you this afternoon. I'll get back to my dear friend MSR's question. Our relationship is very strong. MSR and I have been working at T-Hub for the last 3 years. I'm the founder, director of T-Hub. I don't know whether people heard that or not. And for all practical purposes, I chair the board of T-Hub too. So I work very closely with him. I'm very delighted with my association with you, MSR. So let's again get back to the question that you had. What drove me to become an entrepreneur? However much it might sound real or not so real to you people, for some strange reason, this question used to come very early in my life. The question saying, what is the purpose of your life? Why are you here? I ask that question every day to myself. What did you contribute today? So that question was trying to drive me to say, you have to contribute something back to the society. You can't be like anybody else. Something that is unique for yourself. And one of the things that used to come to my mind is, maybe the uniqueness is start a company, start doing something. So this was at the back of my mind. Rightly so, as MSR pointed out, I come from a middle-class background. My father was a police officer. My mother was a homemaker. We are 4 siblings. What the biggest asset my parents gave to me was my education. And I'm very proud of that. And so therefore, I didn't have enough of finances either to start up an enterprise or take those risks in life. A very senior medical doctor trusted in my education qualifications and gave away his daughter to me. So I had to also look after her. So a combination of all that said, no, you're not, at this point of time, do not have all the wherewithals to become an entrepreneur. Wait for your time. But I never wasted my time. I worked 10 years before I moved into my next step. I'll tell you in a minute. And the first 10 years I worked for 3 companies. One was the DCM group, Delhi Cloth Mills, it was Shriram Refrigeration. I then worked for Myco Bosch, and then I worked for HCL. And what did I do for those 10 years is I got the right skills to get me ready to become an entrepreneur. My first role, you would be very surprised, was in operations. I ran a diesel engine shop. My second role was in computers. I ran the EDP department for Bosch. My third role, which is strangely people don't believe it, is from being an operation guy and an EDP guy, I became a salesman. I sold HCL computers. And so what does it mean? So long as you are a quick learner, you can do anything in the world. That's one key message to you. And learning is not something which is God's given gift. It's an attitude in ourselves. And there is nothing called time for it, age for it. You can learn anytime, any day. By now, you could have guessed my age profile. I still believe today might be my last day, but doesn't mean that stops me from learning. So therefore, I learned for those 10 years, trying to equip myself to become an entrepreneur. In 1982, I made the first attempt to be an entrepreneur. I saw a need for computers in this country. And so we said, look, let's start manufacturing computers. I had a business plan with me, I had everything ready. But a good friend came back with a very senior IAS officer who is still around, who became the chief secretary thereafter, said, Mohan, I don't think you're still ready. I said, why? He said, look, technology is changing at such a rapid pace. You don't have technology at this point of time. You just have a knockdown assembly line business that you're putting together. Valid point, I thought. He also said hardware is one area which required a lot of money. You have money, all right, but I don't think you have those deep, deep pockets to go and spend money. And I took a deep breath. I said, a lot of sense. And he took another deep breath and said, Mohan, I have a proposition. And what was the proposition? He said, I have somebody who is looking for a CEO for a startup company. But the startup company was actually funded by Tatas as financiers. And technology was driven by an outstanding, amazing computer scientist called Dr. REDDY. So can you be the third leg to it to provide leadership for the team? I said, God-sent gift, 32 years old, and Tata is giving me an opportunity to be a CEO of a company never heard about. I then, certainly, I have courage, I have that optimism, bold enough to tell them, no, CEO's title doesn't work, because that was not very common those days. I said, I need to have a title called Managing Director. And they said yes to it. So I was a part of a board member, along with Mr. Tobaccowala, along with Mr. Gigi Boy at 32, sitting on the board and running this company. So I made good use of 10 years of my life thereafter, running OMC Computers as the managing director, and built a company which was in system integration. So, therefore, the first point I like to make is that I had an intent to contribute, and the contribution I thought was to entrepreneurship. The second one is that I waited for the right opportunity, but didn't waste time but skilled myself to take that opportunity. I had all the skills to run a company by the time. But in between, a couple of more things happened. One is, way back in 1976, I went to US. I went to University of Michigan. I did my master's degree out there. I was very fortunate to go to a course called Small Business Management. I still have the book from Laura Hosmore. It's a case study course that he ran. And that is when actually I had enormous amount of insights of what small businesses are. Because this is not to do with just finance or HR or operations. It was all to do with every facet of business. That certainly triggered me to say, man, you got all these traits. You got to hone yourself to become an entrepreneur. That was 76 story, all right. But the real trigger came in 1991 when we saw the opportunity really unfolding because of the liberalization, privatization, and globalization. All of us use this word called LPG quite well. So that was the LPG movement of 1991 when Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao was the Prime Minister, Mr. Manmohan Singh was the Finance Minister, when the whole country was in the brink of a disaster. I know some of you might not have been born by that time, but what was happening to India was precisely what's happening today to Sri Lanka. India was not in a position to pay the balance of payments, and so sheepishly, the then Prime Minister was smuggling gold to Bank of London to pay for the debt that we had. Otherwise, this country would have been called bankrupt. And from there, when we saw those changes that were happening, and which then reflected back into saying it has to be a level playing field. There's no more, if you want to do exports, there's no more customs duty on computers. If you're doing exports, there is no income tax. We didn't pay income tax for 12 continuous years. And so therefore we saw an opportunity. That was the trigger, MSR, for me to say the liberalized world provided opportunity, and that's when I said, it's time for me to jump, and I did.
So opportunity meets passion.
Yes, sure.
Right?
Passion never lost sight of it. We continue to look for opportunities. When the right opportunity came, I grabbed it.
Yeah, so I think to summarize, if I were to summarize what you said, one is have an attitude of continual learning,
sure.
One. And second is keep honing your skills. You're never too old to learn, one. Third, I think, is be fearless. Becoming an MD in a Tata-owned company at 32 is non-trivial, right? And of course, fourth is keep your eyes and ears open for opportunities and jump in
when the time comes.
When the time comes, right? Okay, so I'm going to jump into another question on the personal front before I throw the floor open for a question from the audience. B.V.R. Garu, you've spoken many times about success and how you measure success beyond just financial achievements, right? You've talked about it both in quantitative and qualitative terms. So I'd like to, obviously as an entrepreneur, you have several stakeholders to take care of, right? Financial success is an important metric, right? So could you cover, how do you measure success beyond just, financial achievement? I'd like you to talk about the financial achievements as well, but beyond financial achievements.
Sure. Thank you, MSR. I guess, no harm in talking about the financial achievements because I like to share with my audience today, money is nothing bad. Making profits is not a bad thing. Please don't feel shy of telling people that I make money. What's wrong with it? So long as you do it the right way, tell people that I make money. I do tell people, I do make money. So therefore, I think, making money, if you go back and actually, strangely, if you go and Google on this word called entrepreneur, what was the answer that you'll get is, entrepreneur is a person who has an idea, takes some risks for getting financial benefits. These are the three elements it talks about. So therefore, boss, can you ask him to stop talking? So therefore, there's no harm in terms of saying the financial benefits are important for the success of companies. Fully being aware, I'm not going to carry all this money upstairs as I disappear from this world. But I'm going to make good use of this money. Me, my successors, or whoever they are, I'll put it to good use so that, the whole society flourishes thereafter. So with this in mind, certainly I've been very conscious of the fact that we need to make money. We certainly have to drive business to make money. We measure our numbers like crazy. We measure to manage is what I keep saying. Anything that can be measured has to be measured. Once it's measured, it has to be compared. Once it's compared, if there is a deviation, you do what is called as relentless root cause analysis, RRCA, to find what is the reason for the deviation. You find the reason, you then have a strategy to fix it. Fix the strategy, measure it back again. You're going through the whole process over and over again. It's a very positive cycle that you run. So we measure ourselves on some critical parameters, like, our board says, I'm not worried, Mohan, about your revenue. I'm not worried about your profit. I'm worried about one thing called free cash flow. How much money came into the company? Because if that was one which was probably measured well, there would not have been a disaster of the magnitude that we saw with another IT company in the city of Hyderabad. Free cash flow was never measured properly. So leaving that apart, so therefore we measured that quite extensively, and we've done well. We've done well. Second thing is that we are profitable, we got market value, but we shared this value with value creators. There are at least 100 crorepati's in my company today. People tell me saying, Mohan, I built this house because I work for you. I got my child going to United States because of you. That is the way in which you get satisfaction. I wouldn't call it success, MSR, but that's the satisfaction that you get. And so also is the case that, it is beyond financials. The fact that, we created 18,000 jobs, a much needed job requirements in this country, 18,000 highly paid jobs. The average salary is about 21 lakhs for the company today, which means that you can imagine what the top end of the spectrum is. It's good because the company makes money. Who makes that money? People make the money, so you better pay it back to them. We put together an RSU scheme, which is called restricted stock units, which is giving off the stock to the employees, which is right now running, I believe, is 380 crores of free cash being given to them. And that is, if they hit on numbers, it just not just come like that. So only when the company makes money, you have to earn it, absolutely. So leaving the financial part of it, the other way around of looking at it is that I have, what makes me very satisfied is number of people's careers that we have built. Not just the jobs, but careers that have been built. I know at least 6 other people who actually have become CEOs of companies who worked for me. That's a great satisfaction that you have. You trained people. With humility, I'll tell you, my successor, in the interest of transparency, is my son too. And the young man has done very well because he's been my successor. He took over the role of being the CEO of the company 14 years back. And 14 years back, the track record, if you see, and you look at the track record 18 years before that, it's certainly much, much superior, the 14-year track record. He's trained by me. So therefore, I get the satisfaction that he worked for me for 14 years before I elevated him to be my successor. So there are a number of parameters. Success is something which is relative, MSR, and it all depends upon how you measure yourself. And so long you measure on the right parameters and say, I progress myself, you become more successful.
Just to quickly summarize, I think one is, you said free cash flow is a key metric for any entrepreneur to be successful. Profit is profit with purpose is something which you have to focus on, and taking care of your stakeholders. The number of people who work for you, for whom you've helped create wealth, the number of people who've gone on to hold similar roles, right? And obviously also, I'm going to cover the social impact part later,
sure,
the work you're doing.
Yes.
But I think broadly, I thought I would leave this message with you. One last question before I throw it open to the audience, right? And my interaction with BVR Garu over the last 3 years, I still remember, I think he grilled me over 3 interviews, okay? So it was still, you know.
But I did a good choice.
After, and I, you know, by the time when I first met him, I'd already worked for whatever 33 years plus. But I still remember the amount of, you know, preparation I had to do before I got in front of him. And if there's one thing I've learned from him is whatever you do, first of all, do it with complete commitment, no half measures. And second is do it with energy. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question about, you talk about the criticality of having values. Right? You emphasize that in so many of the forums I've been part of with you, right? And you talk about, again, profit with purpose, right? So if I were to ask you to give audience here an insight into the values which have shaped your journey as an entrepreneur, right? And what are the values which you hold really dear and steadfastly stay committed to those? What would those be?
Thank you, Mr. One of the things that my personal values, which are reflected back into my business values at this point of time, are something which we, in bold letters, in many places it's written across the company, we keep saying values first, F-I-R-S-T. The acronym FIRST, we play on that word, is fairness, integrity, respect, sincerity, and then transparency. These are the 5 values we believe are non-negotiable. Period. You can't have, even if the slightest of doubt we have, and thereafter it's proven, even with certain amount of doubt, there's no scope for saying that, it's pardonable. The values cannot be compromised. We have now businesses in 14 different countries. We did about 21 acquisitions across the world. Our last 2 acquisitions, one is a Finnish company, last but one, or the other way around. Last but one is a Portuguese company, and the second one is a Finnish company. And so therefore, if you look at countries around the world, people have different cultures. But we keep saying, you have your culture, we don't have a problem whatsoever. But in different cultures too, there can't be values which are different. And values have the highest amount of respect for the organization. That's what we drove. So personal values of mine and integrated into my professional values of the company are F-I-R-S-T. But on top of that, what we also keep saying is, one of the value which is probably not reflected so well into the values as such, is I strive for excellence. That is something which we drive people in our company. And when you say strive for excellence, what does it mean? You want to get better and better in every iteration that you do. And the question is, whom are you competing with? I keep saying I compete with myself. I didn't want to come first in class because, I have to get better marks than my neighbor. I came in first in class because I did the best. And that too, there's an interesting story I write in my book too. In class 7, the type of marks that I got, and understandably, I was very afraid of my mother, like all of us around here. And very carefully, I hid the mark sheet. Me? Yeah. So let me tell this story of mine. 7th class, mark sheet, hidden under the bed cover. Smart mother somehow finds out what the marks were. And she was understandably furious about what I got as marks. And that, really it was an awakening call for me. It took me a while. I worked on it, saying that, if my sister is, what is she doing, which I don't do, is that I don't spend so much of time on studies as she does. I said, this is time for me to start learning, not whiling off my time playing around and making all sorts of games around. So the end result was, it took me a while, it took me a long time, but I feel very proud. When I graduated my engineering, I was a gold medalist. Andhra University in 1971, Bachelor of Engineering, you'll find my name in Mechanical Engineering. I feel very proud about it. And my point I like to make is, when an ordinary kid like me can do extraordinary things, every one of you can do this. That's the message I have. Why did I tell you the story is that, it is possible that everybody can do it. So therefore, what is this message that I have is, I'm constantly in search of excellence. Whom am I competing? I'm competing myself. Are you unnecessarily taxing yourself? No, it's easy for me. I keep saying, I tell you that even after this session that I have with you, I go back, and as I drive back, I'll recall saying that what did I do right, what did I do wrong? I could have done much better than this. And that's nothing wrong in it, absolutely. So you start excelling by competing yourself. That's another value I have.
Thank you, Divya. So quickly summarize before I throw it open for a question from the audience, I think... Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think one is about the fact that values are integral, and he spoke about the first, the acronym of FIRST. Second part is, I think, key message is be the best that you can be. Right? I think a lot of us sometimes are capable of much more, but we don't give ourselves
Absolutely.
the chance to be
Correct.
the best that we can be.
Sure.
Right? I mean, like somebody else said once, we all live one life.
Exactly.
Right? So in that life, try and be the best that you can be. And I can't think of a better example
Yesterday does not come.
we. Yeah. Right? Okay. So I'm going to throw the floor open for a question from the audience on the personal journey. Anything which you would like to ask BVR Garu?
I have one question. Can we get the question? Please, can somebody...
Can you use the mic?
Anna, it was really, going through your journey was fabulous. All these years we didn't get to know about it, though we know you very much. At the first instant, I would like to ask you is that behind every successful man is a woman, and how supportive was Suchaka? Without her, I'm sure.
Thank you. I actually stored that question to the end, but now that you're asking, let me share that with you. Suchi, my wife, for last, it so happens 50 years now. We celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary on the 5th of this month in a small town called Porto in Portugal. And when I thought about becoming an entrepreneur, by the time I was the CEO of a Tata company, we were doing well in life. We had our own home. There were a couple of drivers. There were cars, and so on and so forth. So understandably, she would have a hesitation saying that, why do you want to jump the ship and go and do something on your own? And I tried to reason out, this was the passion of my life. And this is the last chance. I turned 40. So if I don't do it now, I'll never do it in my life. So I said, here's a compromise between you and me. I will make sure that you will get income, which I won't touch, I promise. That will make sure our lifestyle does not change. Not that we had any extravagant lifestyle. So we bought a property in Chennai, and I said, the rent is good enough for you to run the home. And she said, perfect. Once she got that financial security, she was 100% or 200% committed to my life and my passion in life. So certainly Suchi had an extremely important role for my success. She never even blinked an eyelid thereafter in terms of how we built this company. There are days when both of us used to sit down and think about what's next for us in this company. So therefore, I think certainly I have to acknowledge Suchi to be a very, very important person in my life and playing an extremely important role in my success. Thank you for asking that question.
Sir, I have a question for you.
Sure.
You made a path which did not exist. You created everything. You were a pioneer in your industry. Now, you must have faced challenges through this path. And how did you inspire yourself and motivate yourself when you had a setback? How does anyone get to that position?
Thank you. A couple of things. One is that the path I choose to become an entrepreneur was less traveled by many people. Actually, MSR was asking this question about how do you measure success. This is one other way. I actually created a category called engineering services. What was very common in 1990s in India for people doing IT exports was all to do with the traditional IT services, bespoke software development. Trust me, I don't do software development. What I do is what is called as engineering as a service. I do aircraft engine design for Pratt & Whitney. I do fast fuselage design for Boeing aircraft. These are the type of works that I do. So we created a new category by itself. So it was an extremely less traveled path. So like any other entrepreneur, I also had my own challenges. The first and the foremost was, I thought, I had a vision ahead of times. Because if you look at this engineering as a service that I described so far, it is considered to be in some ways crown jewels of people. So if a company does not even do the design, what else they can do? Whereas if you look at IT services, they're very peripheral. Somebody can do financial accounting for you. You don't need to do it yourself.
Yes.
Whereas you want to design your own product, somebody else does that. So there were big challenges ahead of time. So therefore, we had to find a right go-to-market strategy, to find an adjacency, to ensure we climbed it up. But the bigger challenge to us came when we wanted to scale. We found a service offering which was good. There was a big market opportunity in front of us. But to scale, we didn't have enough people. So our people became the big challenge. And that continues to be one of the big issues on which I work. Because we say people everywhere, but you don't have the right people to work for you. So we had to skill them. We had to train them. So scaling was yet another challenge that we had. Because if you don't scale, you die.
Right.
And if you do not scale, you die. You scale with the wrong things, you die. Either way, it's going to be a disaster. So the end result is enormous amount of effort has been put in order to develop what we call it as our framework, which is called PPT. And it's thank you, Rekha. It's called .ppt. That's the framework in which we work for scaling our business. The dot in the center is customer. We are a very customer-centric company, we are. We are actually, to the extent we keep saying, we are paranoid about our customers. You'll be surprised that I've got a customer in 2000, 23 years now going, strongest customer, it's $100 million account. Year after year, we turn around for them. So therefore, how do you get that? Is basically because you deliver value to the customer. So C at the center is the dot and then the three edges of the triangle is P, P, T. People, our ability to recruit people, retain people, reward people, retrain people helped us in terms of scaling our business. The second P is about process. Our ability to build processes which are robust and will make sure that irrespective of who works on the particular task, it doesn't matter. So long as they have basic skills and follow the process, you'll get the same output irrespective of the individual who worked on that particular product. And the last T comes as three Ts. One is called tools, technology, and training. Our ability to deploy the right tools, train them sufficiently, and ensure that tools, technology, and training. So we got the tools, we trained them, and we got the right type of technology. That's what we put together. So therefore, challenges are plenty. But every time we had a challenge, we looked at it as an opportunity. And we scaled ourselves.
That's superb, sir. So whenever there's a challenge, you take it up as an opportunity and move forward, rather than, as a setback and stop.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I'm going to ask you one question about, you talk, I know you're very, very focused on building team and also building culture.
Sure.
Right? So, BVR Garu, I'd like you to talk about, as a leader, right? Obviously, you define culture, right? You play a big role in defining a culture and building the team, right? Talk us through some guiding principles. You talked about values in the beginning, but what are the guiding principles typically, one has to look at when you are building your team and building an organizational ethos or culture?
Sure. So To me, MSR, what is culture? Culture is, it starts off with values. I keep saying values determine your behavior. Sum total of behavior of people is the culture of an organization. So therefore, if you want to build a culture, you need to walk the talk. That's number one. Whatever you say as values, if you don't become the role model, you can't build the culture of an organization. And certainly, we said we'll share wealth with wealth creators. So the result is that we had extensive, at the point of time when we started the company, there was nothing called stock options in this country in 1992. It was called ESOPs. We found a way. We actually created trust. We moved our stock into the trust. From the trust, there were no restrictions from SEBI thereafter. So therefore, so when you told people saying that, I respect for you, my respect for you is high because you earn the money and I'll share the money with you, you can't stop thereafter. You have to find ways in which you can't tell them, no, ESOPs are not there, I can't do this at this point of time. So therefore, you walk your talk, you become the role model in an organization, and people look forward to learn from you thereafter. And certainly what we have said is, anything that comes new, you have to implement it. You have to have the ability to execute it. People talk about innovation at this point of time. I don't know how many of you understand this word called innovation. Innovation is not invention. You don't get new things into this world. You take things which are already there as technologies, put together as a solution to make it unique, which can probably have a USP compared to what other people do. So we wanted to bring this culture into the organization. And we actually, to a great extent, I confessed in a number of meetings, we, that is my customer and me, I repeat, destroyed the human mind of innovation. Because when we started off this business, like even today in many of the IT businesses true, they say customer knows the best, customer tells you what to do, just follow what customer tells you. So what happens to human being thereafter? He's not thinking, or he or she is not thinking at all. They're just following what's to be told. Innovation is all about your ability to think. You have to now reverse your role. So we said, how do we reverse this role? An extremely interesting story we have. So I was thinking about this quite intensely. And one day I walked into one of these COEs, we call them, Centers of Excellence. Typically about 2,000 people sit in a hall, which is about, say, 10,000 feet or 20,000 feet. So I looked at all the walls, and they were all bland, except, there was a stray painting at one end, or there's one wall had a number of ISO certificates, which says that, we're a quality organization. I said, yes, let's clean up one wall. And we painted the wall with a tree. And the tree was named as Ideas Tree. And we had the stick-on labels, we got them done, which were in the shape of leaves. And we kept them in the reception as you enter the hall and told people, if you get an idea, you write it on the leaf and put it on the tree. And people used to stick them onto the tree. And every weekend, we used to pluck the leaves, take it to the back end, evaluate that idea that they have. So which means that we started pushing them to start thinking about new ideas. And if they passed the gate, we used to get, the color of the leaf used to change from green to a different color. Or if the idea failed, they used to get an email saying that, look, this is no good for us. And to the extent that once the idea get to the next stage, the guy used to get 2 hours off for trying out their ideas, he or she, 2 hours off every week to try out their own ideas. So that's how we started moving into a culture of innovation. So you have to get these completely executed MSR, and that's what we did extremely well.
Any question from the audience? I think she's been waiting for a while.
So good afternoon, sir. Oh, okay. First of all, మీరు తెలుగు వాళ్ళు అయినందుకు మాకు చాలా గర్వంగా ఉంది.
సంతోషం అండి, చాలా సంతోషం.
My question to you is, sir, the CYIENT was formerly called Infotech, which sounds very similar to Infosys. Like, why and when did you choose to name it CYIENT, and what does CYIENT stand for? Like,
interesting question, Andy. I'll briefly tell you. It could be a long answer, but I'll try to be conscious of the time too. We've got a long way to go, I guess, MSR. So when we started the company and we wanted to put a name for the company. And so the idea was, what do I do? It's information technology. And so I said, let's look at the name called Infotech. There were some murmurs saying that, look, it's not a very unique name. And I have my belief in life then, even now, today, is what is there in the name? You do good work, people will recognize you. That's what it was. But as we started progressing, Infotech being a generic name started getting used by a number of people in different forms. So one day, one of the regrets I have is I took a long time. The name got changed only 14 years back when my successor came in, and he insisted that he'll get it done. And he convinced the board, and it costed a lot of money, all right. But then, what happened was that around this time, I went to a party one evening. And one of the IAS officers was talking to me, saying that Mohan Reddy Garu business ela undi. Said, "Baundi sir, baa jaruguta undi." Now tilsandi meeru Infosys lo unnanni rojulu mee company baa jarugutundi. So he couldn't make a distinction between Infosys and Infotech. Because both are generic names. That's what it was. And trust me, I come back home, was thinking about it. Next morning, I opened the newspapers. And it says, KBR Infotech directors arrested. Some fraudulent company. And I got a couple of calls saying that, Mohan Reddy garu em chesaru meeru ani cheppi. So, nenu em cheyaledandi na company kaadani nenu cheppukovalsina avasaram vachindannamata. So therefore we said, no, this is now going out of control. We need to have a unique name. And that is when we said, we looked for a name. Hendrick & Sells did the job, and I said it costed a lot of money. It costed us £1 million to do the rebranding, as it's called. That's what we paid them. And the name was fairly simple. They came back and said, Mr. Reddy, 60 seconds for you, and I'll tell you the story in 30 seconds. They said, we went to the focus group discussions, and one of the things that come out very strongly from the focus group discussion is this company is extremely customer-centric. They think clients are gods. That's what the culture you built in this company. And I did. That's another cultural value I have. So they said, park this name called client at one side. And then they said, this company is very proud about what they do. They do ER&D, engineering, research, development. It's all about science they talk about. So they said, park this word called science. Client, science, these two words. And then they came back and said, look, they're one of the top brand builders in the world, Hendrick & Sells. They said 90% of the work that we do is people want to forget their past. There's something wrong with the past. They want to start afresh. And that's how the new branding starts. Whereas you are very proud of your past. So we have to link your past with the present. And the past to the present was, our ticker symbol at that point of time was IENT, Infotech Enterprises. So client, science, IENT becomes SCIENT. Sorry, somebody had a follow-up question from this side.
Yes, sir. One of my flow colleagues actually said that we are all very proud that you belong to the state of Telangana. So yes, we also see that you're a part of T-Hub on the board. Do you see this kind in the new entrepreneurs at T-Hub? And especially when you talk about the ideas of trees and ideas being posted there and ideas being encouraged there, do we see this kind, or is there a lacuna there with the entrepreneurs at T-Hub or in the startups?
No, I don't think so. I think we're getting some very good ideas. Only thing that happened was that I think Hyderabad was a late starter into this technology play itself. People like Bangalore were far ahead of us. And for good reasons, I guess that's all part of India. So I'm very proud as an Indian that it happened in Bangalore. Or for that matter, it was also Gurgaon to a certain extent, or Mumbai for financial services. So there's nothing wrong that's happening at T-Hub at this point of time, except we were late starters. I think if you look at the ecosystem that's there in Telangana at this point of time, it's unparalleled. Not because I'm involved with T-Hub, I'm saying, not because I belong to Telangana, I'm saying this. I truly, from the bottom of my heart, I have seen number of states. I've seen the complete ecosystem for startups. There can't be anything better than what we have in Telangana. So the result is, give us a little more time with leadership of my good friend, MSR, and several other people who are there as pillars of the whole ecosystem that's built. The flagship is, of course, T-Hub. There are other parts of it too. So I'm sure in the next 5 years, Hyderabad will become leader in startups.
Sir, one more question. Now, with the generation of ChatGPT, AI, how can the younger generation or the latest now go to upskill themselves? How targeted can they, upskill their skills? Because there's so much happening. They can't just put ChatGPT or AI and do their business. They need to have their own skill set. How do they focus on that to upskill themselves?
See, ChatGPT is the new phenomenon of the world, and I assure you, that's not the end of the world either. Because there'll be more amount of ChatGPTs that will come by. Right. The newer ones and newer ones will come by. So actually, if you look at even our recruitment policies in the company at this point of time, we're not recruiting people for the skills that they possess today. We recruit them for their ability to learn in future. So long as you have a learning psychology, a learning habit, then the ability to learn anything new would always become easy for people. So therefore, ChatGPT is one, people have to upskill themselves. One thing every one of us have to understand is, learning is continuous. It is not any longer stagnant. It's amazing pace at which technology is changing. You can't believe it. I can share with you, I'm 73 years old. I never experienced technology shaping the way in which it's shaped today. And I think it'll become faster and faster. So the only way you can keep pace with this technology is making sure you learn all the time. And I keep saying, learning is the easiest thing that you can do in life. I'm not challenging people to run a 100-meter dash. I'm not asking you to run a marathon. You require so much amount of training to go by. This is the easiest thing is learn. Absolutely. Apply yourself, focus yourself, you got the thing. And today, technology on one side is putting so much pressure on you to say learn. The other way around is, it's also helping you to learn. I go to a class. I didn't like the class. I didn't hear to him. But that doesn't end to me. I go back to my room as a student, and then I can go to the YouTube and find a better professor who taught the same course. So the result is, how is that possible? It's because of technology. So technology in one way is putting a lot of pressure on us to learn new things. On other way around is that it also is giving us an opportunity to learn from technology itself.
We have got one question before Pratibha goes. Okay, and I'm getting into this thing, right? How many here are entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs? The large numbers.
Large numbers.
Right?
I will clap for all of you.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you to very quickly distill, right, all the years of experience into 3 or 4, mantras, if you will, right, or a simple playbook of 4 bullet points. I know it's oversimplifying, but what advice would you give the entrepreneurs here for them to be?
Okay. The first and the foremost is that please look for a problem which is real. Don't imagine problems yourself. Don't sit in a cubicle and say, look, I have got a technology which can solve this problem, but there won't be anybody there to take your solution. So therefore, it should be a real problem. Find a solution which is unique, which can stand the test of times, and make sure that you continuously improve it. That should be the first bullet point I have. You have to have a real problem, unique solution, distinctively different from others, continuously improve it. The second one is that definitely the problem should be having an addressable market. If you think, no, I don't care about the market, but I found a solution to it, so what? You'll be happy with yourself. You will not be in a position to make a contribution to the society, nor contribution to yourself. So the second bullet point I have is, you need to have a large addressable market, TAM as it's called, total addressable market. The third one is, today the pace at which the technologies are changing and the world is changing, the disruption is so intense at this point of time, you can't be successful all by yourself. You have to work in teams. So please make sure that you have a team of people who work on these problems, and not you are in isolation, in solitude, saying that I will conquer the world. That will not going to be possible. That's the third one. And the fourth one is, and I'll stop there, is that you can't be stagnant even momentarily. we have sleepless nights thinking about what is next. At least I have a little more sleep these days because I don't worry about what is next. I'm looking at the quarterly numbers.
Only the paranoid survive?
Paranoid survive, exactly. The paranoid survive. And associated with the paranoid being survived, the paranoid, the word that I use very often, is customer satisfaction is something which is extremely important. Who pays the money? I used to, in the very early days of my company, I used to have these trainees coming into the hall, and I used to do these training sessions with them. And one of the favorite questions is, who paid your salary? And people used to think, this man is somewhat, an idiot. Why does he ask this question? You pay the salary, they used to say. I said, it's wrong, absolutely. I don't pay the salary. I'm only an intermediary. The customer pays your salary. So your loyalty is to the customer in making sure that you create the value for the customer. And so therefore, these are some of the things which are very important in MSR. I can go on and on this way.
One question before we throw it open to the audience. One aspect of your life which we haven't spoken about is about the fact that you wear so many hats. Right? Chairman of the board of directors at IIT Hyderabad, IIT Roorkee, also very actively involved as a philanthropist in several causes, particularly passionate about education and the girl child. Right?
Sure.
So 2 questions. What air do you breathe which gives you the time to do all of this? Is that available? Can it be bottled up and made available to the public?
Sure.
And second is, how do you, multitask so effectively? I know I've asked him this question before. How do you find the energy to juggle so many balls?
Thank you, MSR. I have 4 grandchildren, and my eldest grandchild, she's turned 16 in the last few months. So about 3 years back, first time she came to a meeting with me, and she heard somebody reading out my resume. And she looked at me and said, Tata, tell me seriously, you make up your resume very well. So MSR, one answer is, a made-up resume is what you have, which is one way of looking at it.
I don't buy that.
No, thank you. But I think the real story is, it's all about all of us have one life to lead. And all of us, for all of us, yesterday does not come back again. Live the moment, contribute what best you can. That's the basic bottom line that I have. I keep saying, tomorrow will not, yesterday won't come back to me. So therefore, I have to do my best. And that's what I keep doing. So, but to the extent that you talked about my resume on what I do at this point of time, MSR, is that I actually don't spend so much time on business as what I used to do. So therefore, the first phase of my life, if you look at in building CYIENT or Infotech Enterprises, was my commitment to business was 100%. Comparatively, if you ask me, my commitment may be 100%, but the amount of time I spend on my business today is less than 5%. And that's another story by itself, succession planning. There is a professor called Professor Kaval Ramchandran at ISB. He wrote a book about this. He thinks there can't be a better story than mine in terms of succession planning, how I gave up my role. So therefore, I don't have any more of the business responsibility. I should not take credit for it. I decided I'll focus what's my next passion in life. And my passion in life is education. That's where I spend 1/3 of my time. My next passion of life is about entrepreneurship. I spend time with startups, that's a 1/3 of my life. And another 1/3 of my life is on CSR, on corporate social responsibility. Girl child is very dear to me. So again, go back to what I told you earlier, measure to manage. So we adopt schools. We adopt government schools. We have about 36 under our management at this point of time. We touch the hearts of 10,000 children every year after year. And thank you. Here is more important one to come. And when we adopted these schools, about 14, these schools have been there a little longer, but at least 14 years back, 14 years backwards is when we started this adoption and measuring. The government schools used to have girl child, which is between 15 to 18%. And singularly, we worked on this particular strategy to say, we have to improve the girl child population. And we went back and asked this question, relentless root cause analysis. Why is the girl child population so poor? Actually, we found something more interesting. As the classes move up, the girl child drops off. And we went back, asked this question, why? And it was most idiotic, trivial reason you can think about. Washrooms. That's what it is. Taps are stolen in the washroom, no water in the washroom. Washrooms are unusable. My little girl child, the moment she understands what is privacy, she has only one choice to make: don't go to school. We built the, so therefore we went and said, why are people stealing in the washrooms? Because the watchman is not there. The compound wall is not there. So we said, let's go ahead, build the compound walls, then put our own watchmen. All the 36 schools have our security right now. There are 2 security guards who work around the clock with them. And put back the taps. The girl child came back with vengeance. Where are we with our girl child at this point? We are 54% of children in our schools are girls. From 18%, we moved it to a number called 54%. So again, we can do things if we focus on ourselves. So the focus today, MSR, is not that I'm doing too many things. I take certain things very seriously. I'm doing a lot of work for the government at this point of time, Government of India, education. And start saying that you want to contribute. And rightly you pointed out, and thank you very much for saying that, is that if I do something, I want to take it very seriously and say that there will be an impact because of the effort. Time should not be going wasted. Again, my impact with all of you is I want more of you to turn entrepreneurs. I want all of you to be successful in life.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy. We understand your time crunch, but could we just take one last question, please?
I just have one more question. So you are an investor and you pitch it, right? So when somebody comes to pitch, what is that star takeaway they can take? What is that you look at when you invest?
So what's the first one that you look to invest is
when
somebody comes for investment to us. Is that the passion? The passion has to be the fire in the belly. Several people, some of them very senior people, whether they're politicians or civil servants, etc., bring their children to me and then tell me, saying that, Reddy Garu, chala manchi vadandi, chala bright, chala manchi marks vachayi, entrepreneur అయిపోదాం అనుకుంటున్నాడు. కానీ మీరు ఒక్కసారి ఒక ఐడియా చెప్పండి, ఇచ్చేస్తాను. I keep telling them, that is the start point of the disaster. Because that guy doesn't have passion. So the idea has to come from you, from your heart it has to come from. So one thing that I look for, is this guy going to make it or not make it? Because unless you have that passion, because the role of an entrepreneur is not a bed of roses. We have enormous amount of challenges in life. I talked about good things, you don't know about the bad things. The only way, somebody asked me this question earlier, so how do you pull yourself back? And I keep telling myself that if you don't pull back and say, I give up, you'll be branded in life as a loser. L-O-O-S-E-R. I wrote it on a piece of paper one day for myself. So therefore, do you want to die that way, as a loser branded? No, I don't want to. No, none of us here in the room want to. We want, so therefore, if that idea comes back to you saying that, yeah, it's a bad day, so what? Tomorrow will be a better day. So I go back with renewed energies to fight back at a pace which is going to be far, far superior to what has happened to me in the past. So therefore, I think what I look for people is that people who have the passion, ability to fight, ability to succeed, these are the traits. Thereafter, ideas are important. There are important, there's no denying at all, but they'll all follow.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. As we come to the end of this wonderful evening, could I kindly request everyone to please remain seated and invite Ms. Smita Sanghi, Honorary Joint Secretary, Flow Hyderabad Chapter, to deliver the vote of thanks, and the events team to present the autograph sheet.
Thank you, Prachi. What an incredible experience it was to be a part of a thought-provoking discussion today with Mr. BVR Mohan Reddy. I thank Mr. MSR for skillfully facilitating and steering this discussion. I thank the entire committee who have worked behind the scenes for the success of this event, our past chairs for their support, and members present here today. As I conclude today's session, I invite you to kindly join us for high tea. Thank you.